Welcome back to another video for A-Levels Accounting. I am your teacher Mazahir Ali, and today we will be talking about the trial balance, which is the third component of our accounting cycle, which is under discussion from the last two lectures. Today in our lecture, we will cover some points which can be stated as: what is a trial balance? The second question, what is the format of a trial balance? And third, we will do a short example from our suggested books. So starting with the first question, what is a trial balance? As in our last lecture, we studied about ledger accounts, which were the second component or second stage of the accounting cycles. There we studied that ledger accounts look like the alphabet T, that's why they are also called T accounts. The opening balance and the closing balance, all that. So just for a reminder, if our closing balance is on the credit side of a ledger account, this is called debit balance. And if it is on the debit side, it is called credit balance. The reason for this is because closing balance of 1 year is the opening balance of other year. So in this case, the next year opening balance will be on the debit side. That's why they are called debit balances. And in this case, on the credit side. So that's the reason why they are called debit balances and credit balances. So the question remains, what is the trial balance? Trial balance is basically an extract of all the debit balances and credit balances from the ledger accounts. For example, we have a cash account, bank account, creditors account, and we have our closing balances. So if we make a list of all these balances, so they are called a trial balance. If we write the closing balances in this form, that is of a list, so this will be called trial balance. We will discuss the format in a couple of minutes. So basically, just for again a reminder that in case of assets and expenses, we usually have a debit balance, and in the case of income, liability and capital, we usually have a credit balance. And in case of contra accounts, that are purchase returns, sales returns, drawings, and such accounts, they will be treated in opposite accounts. If the contra account is of assets and expenses, they will have a credit balance, and in case of income, liabilities and capital, the contra accounts will have a debit balance. So now we will discuss the format of a trial balance, and then we will fill the example. So it would be better if we start with the example. In the description you will find a link to the Google Drive. There I have saved some books which you can use as a reference and as practice material. The question we are going to today is from the David Hopkins book. This is from chapter 6, exercise 1, and page number 25. In PDF, you will find it on, I guess, 27. So let's start with the example. This is the question that I just mentioned. You can find it in the book, or you can use this also. So first, I would like that we categorize our line items here, and then we will discuss the format. At first, premises, it's an asset. Motor van, an asset. Office furniture, an asset. Computer, an asset. Sales or income. Sales return, that is a contra account for income. Purchases, that is our expense, and purchase return, that is contra for expense. Motor vehicle running expense, it clearly states. Then wages, rent, they both are expenses. Bank, it is our asset. Capital, it states itself, equity or capital. And drawings, that is contra for capital. Now we will discuss the format and we will solve this question quickly. First of all, we will write the name of entity. In this case, we will call it, let's say, Skyline Private Limited. After that, we'll write the name of the document, that is trial balance. Then we will write the accounting period. You have to make sure that here you will write as at and not for the period. In case of journal and ledger accounts, we will use for the accounting period or for the time period or for the month ended. And in case of trial balance, we will use as at. So in this case, we'll assume it as 31st January 2020. Now here you will make some columns. First column will be of particulars, the second column of debit and credit, and we will write our currency because that is something very important in the question. The currency is dollars, so we will write here dollars. In this way we can use it for the both columns. Now we will draw some lines. Okay, so now that we have drawn our lines and our basic format is ready, so now we'll state our line items. Okay, so now that we have drawn our basic format and we have classified our line items, so now we'll state them. Just for the sake of looking it a bit simplified and organized. We will write the items which have debit balances at first, then all the items that have credit balances. Like we'll first write assets, then expenses, after that income, liabilities and capital. Let's start with it. Obviously I will not be scrolling down again and again because I have the question noted. So if you like, you can take a screenshot of the question or note it somewhere else. So we'll start with the asset. The first asset is premises and it has a balance that is 50,000. It will be written on the debit side. After that, motor van 8,000 debit side. Then is our office furniture for 2,000. Then comes the computer for 3,000. Then comes the bank for 1,650. Now that we've stated all the assets, we'll start with the expenses. They will also be written on the debit side. First one is purchases 4,000. Then we have purchases return for 500. They will be written on the credit side because it is a contra account of expenses. Then comes the motor vehicle running expenses for 4,200. Then comes the wages and rent for 1,800 and 2,000 respectively. Okay, so now that we are done with the assets and expenses, we'll move on to income. In this case, we don't have any liability. So the first income and the only is sales for 60,000 on credit side. Then comes the return, which is a contract account 700 on debit side. So our income is complete. Now comes our capital or equity. So capital we have 20,000, that will be on the credit side. Then we have a drawings. It is a contra account for capital, so it will be written on the debit side, 3,150. Okay, so here comes the important part, which I didn't tell you before, the purpose of trial balance. The purpose of trial balance is basically to check that the recording we did, because this list of balances is the result of our journal and ledger. If we made an error there, it will be visible here in our trial balance. And if we have done it all correctly, so the balances of all the debit and all the credit sides will be equal because of the duality concept. So there are some errors. There are 6 types of errors which we will study in our later lectures. So without wasting any time, let's do the magic and total both the sides. Okay, so the total of the debit side, it is 80,500. Of the credit side, there are only 3 items. These two makes 80,000 and 500. We made double lines because I told you in my previous lecture that double line means for an accountant that his calculation is completed here, and in our case our calculation is completed. So this 80,000 and 500 means that the both sides are equal and we made our entries correct. And from this answer we can say that these list of balances are correct, and our accounting cycle till now is going according to the principles and policies. Just to recap what we studied today, we studied what is the trial balance. It is basically the extract. What is the format? This is the format. And third, what is the purpose? The purpose for trial balance is to check that the accounting cycle till now is correct or not, and it also has a second purpose, that it is the starting point for making our financial statements, which we will make in our next lecture. Thank you for the feedback. I am really getting some amazing feedback, a constructive feedback, and that is making me improve the lectures. And if you have any point, you can email me on mazahirali1995@hotmail.com. You will find the link of the books in the description. Practice as many questions as you want, also from the book of CAF1 Rice Publications. And this book you will find it in chapter 1. Practice as many questions as from this book. It is a really good book and you'll get a lot of practice material. The questions are categorized 1, 2, 3, 4 according to the different parts of the accounting cycle. The part for trial balance is part 4. You can also practice your questions for the previous 2 parts, that is journal and trial balance. And in David Hopkins' book, you'll also find some good questions, that is from chapter 6 and from also the book of Harrison. But I'd recommend this CAF1 if you want to do a lot of practice. So you can take it as an example. I would suggest that you take a question for journal. After that you have prepared the journal, make the ledger of the same journal, and then the trial balance. So it will take some time, gradually you will reduce your time, but you can challenge your concepts and strengthen your grip on accounting. So if you have any questions or queries, you can email me or mention it in the comments. I'll surely answer them. And thank you for the amazing response and the feedback. Keep supporting Qtify, and I'll meet you soon, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.